so grateful to you, Chantal, for the opportunity to be here on behalf of emerging women. And I'm so grateful to every single woman who chose to designate herself as an emerging woman, to show up here tonight and say yes to that part of herself that wants to move forward and take over her life and charge her in some brand new direction that's more fully herself. And I want to really fan the flames of that desire, because that's what I do, and that's my mission. And I want to thank every woman and man who produced this event so that we could all be here tonight on behalf of that which is emerging inside of each one of us. And I brought notes here so they can be with me, because Chantal asked me tonight to not speak as Mama Gena, but to speak as Regena. And normally people want me to come and be Mama Gena! Which is so much fun to do. And I get to go places like big pink bolas and feather fans and make a big roar. Tonight I'm going to make a different kind of roar. And what I want to speak about tonight is how a woman emerges and finds her way in the world. And I'm very good at that. Not only have I emerged, and I hope, of course, to still emerge more, but I have really spent my life organizing classes and seminars and books for women to connect with their deepest calling, their deepest truth, their desire, and plant themselves inside that desire in the world so that they can bloom wildly and transform the world. And so what I do is I have this school called Mama Gena School of Womanly Arts, where I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of students internationally over the last 15 years. I have been on all kinds of television shows, 2022 specials on me. I've had 2 seasons of my own TV show, published 3 books, been in every kind of magazine, newspaper, and so forth. And I took a business where I started with a handful of women in my living room, and it's now a multi-million-dollar business. And everybody says to me, well, how do you do that? How do you take a dream and make it a reality? How do you live your voice? How do you change the world with your life and your work and your livelihood? And I want to answer that tonight. I want to talk about that tonight. Because I think that right now women are the greatest untapped natural resource on this planet. And that every single one of us has a legend that we were born to live. And it's important that we each live our legends in our lifetime. Like right now. This is the time, this is our time. And it's time to grab the mic of our lives and take our place in the world. And of course, I mean, do you think like when I was a little girl, I grew up thinking like, oh, I want to be Mama Gena one day. I want to be the queen of pleasure. I want to empower women. I want to be like Miss Pussy Power USA. It's like the last thing. I'm horribly shy, but I wanted to be an actress. My dream was to be like Dame Judi Dench. I wanted to be a Shakespearean actress, or Dame Maggie Smith. I wanted to do Shakespeare and be significant. And so, of course, I went to college. I went to Mount Holyoke College, then I went to acting school, and then came to New York City to be an actress. And I arrived here, and I had this problem that I think many women have, which is that I was talented, but I was more than that. I was frozen in self-doubt and self-criticism and self-hatred and self-deprecation. It was like I was like walled in with that problem. And I noticed that it was so bad in my case that I would stop myself from auditioning for things because I was like not ready yet. I needed to do like a few more years of study before I'd be ready to be in that play. And it was even worse still than that. I actually got cast in a season of a Shakespeare festival, my dream. And I told them, oh no, I can't possibly. do your Shakespeare festival? I have to go to therapy. I was thinking, but I couldn't find my way to stand up on a stage because I did not know who I was as a woman. And I know this is not just me, because I'm sure y'all read the New York Times this weekend, that huge study about Harvard Business School, that all the men are like acing Harvard Business School and like blowing through and taking over, getting all the A's and getting all the great jobs, and the women are kind of standing there forlorn. And it's so bad that they've actually hired a coach to teach a woman how to raise her hand with enthusiasm and like say me, but without saying me. And the person actually makes them stand there in the room and they raise their hand together and like that. Because 50% of your grade is about how much you participate in class. The men are blowing away the women. The men are dominating. I became obsessed with this problem. Obsessed. Because I saw it not just in my case, but all my girlfriends that I went to Mount Holyoke with, like my buddy Liddy. She's an artist, but she could never charge for her work. She was like, oh, I made a painting, do you want it? What's that? You probably don't want it. Then my friend Joan, who should have been a director, she left college and she decided to work for her father's temp agency. And then she married the guy next door, and she had a lot of kids, and she never directed another play in her life. And she was brilliant. And then there's my friend Kate, who is still getting degrees. She has so many. I was intolerant of this problem, truly intolerant of it, not just on behalf of myself, my friends, all women. And I saw it was epidemic, and I saw it was specifically about women, and I really had to get a handle on it. And I knew that the answers were not in therapy. I had been on the couch for a very long time. And I knew the answers were not in higher education. I knew the answer was not going to come from my head. There was head was causing me problems. I need to go another direction. So I kind of retreated from life for about 10 years, and I studied ancient goddess traditions, indigenous cultures, found a lot of answers there. And then an acting teacher of mine said, you know what, Regena, you are a very good actress. You can really take up some good space on a stage, but you are not at all connected to your sensuality. Me. Look how hot I am. I was not connected. So I thought, well, I can do something about that. I'll take a class in that. I'm going to study that, because I could do that. And so I just took a deep dive into the world of sensuality. I even moved into a sex commune. It was in the spirit of research. Needed to get to the bottom of certain things. And actually, in my studies, because I was in a culture of people that were living very deliberately while exploring sensuality and communication and so forth, I made a connection that floored me, changed my world. I discovered that once I actually was able to connect with taking pleasure from this body, with this body, between myself and myself, like actually looking at myself in the mirror and seeing beauty and touching myself and feeling rapture, I stood inside my experience of myself as a woman in a way that was utterly and completely different than the moment before I had done that. All the divinity I had been searching for, I found within. And once I connected to kind of my core sensual fire and my passion and my ability to live that, it altered everything. I stood in my body in a whole different way. I actually could say my truth and stand inside of it. It completely changed everything, and it scared the shit out of me because I knew I discovered my calling. And I thought that is the last thing I want to do, is be the pussy queen. But then there's this thing about the calling, which is what I want to kind of exposed to you, you probably won't like your calling when it comes calling. It will tug you, and it will want to take you down a road that you may not be willing to or interested or really desirous of going. But then this thing happens once you really engage with it, which is that your passion will overcome your fear. And that's what happened to me, because I thought what I must do is tell every woman, because women do not know this. And in fact, our culture disparages sensuality, disparages the erotic, disparages pleasure. It says that's a neighborhood one must never go. It's actually pornographic. And that's not the case. It's where your sacred lives. When a woman is turned on, she is tuned in. She's tuned into her truth. She's tuned into her voice. And more importantly, she's tuned into her power. Who knew that sensuality was the connective tissue between a woman and her sacred, and a woman and her power, and a woman and her truth, and a woman and her voice, and her creativity? It makes sense. Where did we all come from? What creates life? Every single one of us here was born because an orgasm was had by someone somewhere, even if it was in a test tube. There's an orgasm behind every one of you. I see it, actually. So, there I was with my mission, and I had actually just had my daughter, Maggie, and so I was a new mama, and I thought, okay, well, I'll be Mama Gena. That's nice. And then I had to, go shopping and find like the perfect, because I had no money, pink thrift store pajamas, hot pink pajamas, and I got a big feather boa, and I walked around, told everyone I was Mama Gena, and I was the queen of pleasure, and I was changing the world. And the funny thing is, that's exactly what happened. There's a lot of power when you connect with your deepest calling. And so, but I must say, it's terrifying at the same time, because, can you make a living at this? Is there any, like, how am I going to support my family, my kid, talking about pleasure? And not only that, but it was very controversial. This is 15 years ago. We have a very pleasure-friendly culture right now. There's a lot of people talking about sensuality, and there's S Factor, and there's you, and there's, you're so yoni-friendly. So, but 15 years ago, I had a brownstone on the Upper West Side, and when my neighbors saw me sprinkling rose petals on the steps, and these throngs of women coming into the brownstone every night, they thought I was running a brothel. I would get hate letters from my neighbors, like, what are you doing? Get out of this neighborhood. We're the Upper West Side. And in addition, my daughter applied her to private school. She goes to a private school. And when they found out that I was Mama Gena, the head of admissions was like, I don't know. I don't think so. And we laugh about it today, because she did finally, she accepted Maggie. She took a big risk, and she accepted her. And but she loves to tell the story about how she almost didn't let us in on account of what I did. So there's always going to be that. You'll know you're on the right track if it's terrifying to you, if you don't think you can make it financially, and if you actually don't even know the way. Because the emerging feminine is not logical. The patriarchy is logical. You want to run from that shit as fast as you can. And go to what makes no sense, but what drives you, and where your soul longs to have you. So I thought I would give you some kind of like my best 3 tips of what it is that you can use to power your road. If that's a road that how many of you are interested in kind of, you have this feeling or this sense, this pull, this drive, this kind of urgency, like, I have a mission in the world, and I'm sort of on my way. I'm not sure, but I know that I was born to fulfill. Oh, that's so beautiful. I have this feeling that we were all, that we are the awakeners. We are the awakeners who have been born now. And the world requires your voice, and you know that. And it is time for the awakeners to awaken this planet into its next iteration. But in so doing, there's a few things that could support you in that unfolding journey. And one of them, like my biggest tip, is pleasure. Feel a little funny when I say pleasure? Where are you going with that? You're seeing me alone with a jar of lube, aren't you? And I could mean that. But when I talk about pleasure, I'm talking about building in a discipline into your life where you are stoking your own fires. Not waiting for someone else to make you happy, but learning what it is, how you have to organize your life so that you feel filled to overflowing. For example, I'm single right now, but I have a lover, and we have a sensual practice that we do, at least every week. And then I have another lover for when that one's busy. Because even though I don't have a partnership, I don't want my fires to die. So I'm very conscious about including a sensual practice so that I am, glossy and ready for what's ahead. I have a horse because I love to horseback ride. And I make sure I go out there and I... Sounds wrong, doesn't it? It actually... I'm a country girl living in the city. So the horse forces me to get out of the city a couple times a week and go get the wind in my hair and take control of a 1,500-pound animal. It's good training for raising a teenage daughter. I have flowers on my desk. It sounds small, but it's not small. I have candles. I make sure I have a candlelit bath with great music. You see, it's very easy to live a mediocre, miserable life. Do nothing, and you'll have a mediocre and a miserable life. But to live a pleasured life, a gratified life, that requires discipline. And it's something that we have not been taught by our moms and our mamas' mamas, to really make sure that we're getting ours each and every day. Because we can each take a pleasure each day, and you must, because you have a world to change. You have a world to change. Number 2 is community. It's a huge, huge aspect of the work that I do. I have an enormous sister goddess community. Women have a very bad rap about how we relate to each other. Supposedly women are backbiting and gossiping, and there's mean girls, and we step on one another to get to where we want to go. And we put down another woman and we grab her man or grab her job. That's not accurate. Women are extraordinarily generous when they are filled. When we are filled up, we have so much surplus that we're overflowing, and the only thing we want to do is give back to another sister and give her a leg up. And we require community. And communities of women are changing now. When women are in surplus, they will mentor other younger women coming up. They will, give it a hand with getting a job or changing a career. They will help each other with getting a guy. You always need a wing woman when you're going out flirting. Parenting, mothering, community is everything. Your dreams live in the eyes of your sisters. What you said was so powerful, that the women in the PTA saw your greatness and they stood for you until you stepped into it. That's the power that we have as women. We hold the greatness of one another in each other's eyes. So finding a community to plug into that can be a source for you. And then finally, stand for your calling. Don't lose your life in service to someone's corporation or job you hate. I have never seen a woman who risked it all, who failed, who fell. The women who fail don't risk. It's taking the big leaps into your truth that not only create a destiny beyond anything you could imagine, but take the rest of us with you into your vision so that we are each getting to benefit from the legend that you were born to live. So it is terrifying. It will break you and remake you 1,000,000 times in your life. But there's no more exciting way to live than living your truth and your destiny and your deepest desire. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for me. Every single one of you has a voice that will not only expand your lives and your imagination, but will further the unfolding of this planet. So I want to stand for all of us as women to live our truth, to live our destiny, to live our birthright. And the time is now. Go for it, sisters.